Okay. Okay, so before we officially start this CafecISTO Africa, I want to welcome you and just give you some practical information. So as you know, this this CafecISTO will be held in English. It will be recorded. PowerPoint presentation will be also available. So we will have the two presentations that are scheduled for this webinar. And after that, there will be questions and exchange. Meanwhile, if you have any comments you would like to share, you're welcome to put it on the chat. But let's say that the open exchange and question will come after the two presentations. So now I'm pleased to introduce you to Joël Capocici, who is president of our African section, ISTO Africa. And Joël will make a brief introduction to start this CafecISTO Africa. Joël, please. Joël, ton micro est fermé.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody. Hello, my dear member, ISTO Africa. We are happy to meet everybody today who is Africa Days today, and for ISTO Africa Days today. For my person, I want to say you, I'm very happy for this day and for the time who we just take a meeting. So before I can say thanks for ISTO organization member who every day follow us to make our action, and now we go to have a very good coordination for ISTO Africa. So this years and another years. Today I want to say you we have two women who want to present ours for Africa possibility in the social tourism. Now, for a few minutes, please let me present you ISTO Africa. So ISTO Africa created for 20, 27 years, I think so that. And we have some stable to unite Africa and to have tourism for all. I think that is true for the date, because I know ISTO Africa is created since about 10 years, I think that. So now, Charles, I want to say I'm very happy, and I say welcome for new members who want to do action and activity for ISTO Africas. Okay. Now I want to present you a two person who have today a charge for animation. Before I say hello to for Beulah, who come from South Africa. Now, Beulah is there?
Yes, yes, she's there. You can
Hello.
you can introduce herself. You can introduce her.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to for Beulah introduce. Please let me introduce before Mrs. Livine. Mrs. Livine, please. Can I introduce Mrs. Livine before? After I introduce Beulah?
Yes, please. You can start with
Okay.
Beulah.
Okay. Mrs. Livine, morning. So, Mrs. Livine come from Cameroon, and he worked with Association Batoufam, Tourisme and Loisirs. Uh, he make a different activity, and before he study in academia for a master degree in heritage in museology and cultural meditation option institute and fine art university of Beulah. Okay, and for professional leader. She is in charge in cultural mediation, Paul Weaving Royal Museum of Batoufam, and is a member of Batoufam Tourisme and Loisirs Association. I think that if I can forget something for living, he can approve it.
Yeah.
Living?
It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay. That's right.
It's okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
Joel.
For second persons.
Joel, thank you.
But yeah.
Can you, as scheduled, can you introduce, please, Beulah, who will be the first speaker?
Okay. Now I introduce Beulah. Beulah, who is the next a first picture. Beulah is a founder CEO for Hauweng Tourisme and for all society. So Beulah is a service and co-chair BRICS Women in Business Tourism Working Groups. Mrs. Beulah is in strategy and development consultant with expertise from varied industry, includes sports and recreation. She is a founder on the non-profit Hauweng Tourism for All Society, focusing on promoting affordable and accessible tourism and a growth affinity to travel amongst local. In her career spanning for 25 years, she has working in the private and for various companies, ranging from a large blue ships, medium size enterprise responsible for marketing communications and others. She has also working for as a senior manager in public service responsible for strategy development organization restoration and leading sector transformation effort. As a woman in appointment activities, she is establishing of the woman in tourism program for I think that for 10 years, a platform in the growth to have a national and regional footprint. She is developing her work deriving from local and global collaboration with associations that all and health experience and is identified area for tourism, agriculture, environmental management, and others. Through her extensive experience in strategy, capacity building, planning, and exposed for different sectors in economy, she is able actualize complex business context, employment strategy to participate manipulating in process of charge of growth in the environment. So, Mrs. Beulah get Bachelor of Commerce Economy, University of South Africa, certificate in export marketing. Eventment regarding and first sector specifically DDDEE code for tourism. South Africa Women Resource Development Council member for 10 years again, chairs of by deputy president. Tourism Association board for 1 year and current in board advisor. Led formation of the Women and Tourism Program for South Africa, in South Africa, please. Establishing of ISTO, reorganization, social tourism. Organization in South Africa. One, Tourism for All, hosting inaugural African Social Tourism Conference in March for next year, please, in partnerships with International Social Tourism Organization, ISTO. Feature, Mrs. Beulah has been featuring in following publication in relation to her work in tourism, mail and guardian, travel and tourism feature, Black business, category focus on tourism transformation, mail and guardian, book of East A Women Tourism. Okay, this is a brief presentation for Beulah again. Now we can, I introduce Beulah and we can pass Beulah a floor to ask her to present to us for ISTO Cafe today. Okay, Beulah, sorry for my English is not very well, but I think that everybody has accomplished when I want to say. Okay,
Thank you very much, Joel. I really appreciate
okay.
Your English is much better, 100% better than my French. Happy Africa Day to everyone. What a wonderful day to celebrate it with other Africans, looking at what tourism can do for our continent as we aspire for a better and much productive Africa. I am now sharing my presentation. My name again is Beulah Mosupye, founder and CEO of Hauweng Social Tourism for All Society. Hauweng is Sesotho for Let's Go. And so our work is aimed at ensuring that more Africans travel this continent to exchange cultures and be more united. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Wonderful. I will
start. Yes, Beulah.
So I will be
micro, Beulah.
Microphone.
I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, I'm back. So I will give you a brief overview about Hauweng, our organization. I will then zoom into this day that we are celebrating with its key themes around a United Africa and Agenda 2063. We will look at the Africa Free Trade Agreement and what it means for social tourism. Whilst tourism is not accentuated in there, I think it's part of the work that we do as social tourism advocates in Africa to make sure that social tourism gets its share of the debates and discussions that are taking place around the free trade agreement. And of course, looking at the post-pandemic scenario and the Africa we want as the theme under which African Union is putting forward a united Africa and an Africa that is prosperous. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's moving. A brief overview on Hauweng. Hauweng, as Joe indicated, is a South African-based social tourism nonprofit company. And our key areas of focus look at accessibility, which will address your social, cultural, psychological, perception, financial, as well as physical barriers. As a country, you would all be aware when it comes to our history, we have a history that was based on a political system that advocated for segregation. And in that process of segregation, there were laws that were in place that even separated amenities, which then meant social tourism experiences, tourism, travel, and recreation experiences are very different for the majority of our people. And so in that space of accessibility, some of the things that we're actually addressing are those historical barriers that are more cultural, psychological, and perception that certain places people of color cannot go. And so our work around there is in part trying to break away the old notions that were built up around apartheid and to let the freedom that we enjoy today also get into the space that is tourism and recreation. Then there is solidarity, which is promoting peace and tolerance. As we know, even the UNWTO has put tourism as one of those elements that promote peace and tolerance. But when it comes to also, again, our own environment, a lot of the tourism experiences, especially those that are nature-based, are in rural areas. And what we're promoting is to see this rural community also participate and as custodians of authentic experiences, being able to participate proactively, and us as local travelers showing solidarity by appreciating the custodianship with which they exercise over these nature-based experiences. There's element of fair business, and in under fair business, we work with small operators. A lot of the people we work with, and I see some of them are in this group, is that the ladies in tourism stakeholders, where we're working with these small businesses in tourism to ensure that they're able to grow, but also they're able to stand on their own and take advantage of the opportunities that are coming out of tourism. The environment is a crucial element of our tourism here in South Africa. Majority of what we are selling are nature-based experiences. And like I said, some of these experiences, actually majority of them have rural areas around them, but at the same time, as South Africans, as we bring South Africans to these spaces, we want South Africans to become more conscious of their role in preserving their natural heritage, which is an amazing inheritance that we have, and not just as South Africans, but I can comfortably say for the rest of the continent, the natural heritage we have as a continent can't be surpassed, and we need as a citizenry to really take care of it. Last but not least, quality of life. We have gone through very traumatic times. We are going through, again, more traumatic times with the pandemic, with the high unemployment, with many social ills. And so what's important is that there is a tourism advocacy that ensures that more people, the barriers of affordability are brought down to ensure that more people are able to participate. And in that way, irrespective of the social challenges that we're facing, that their quality of life is not dented to an extent that we increase the effects of the trauma being experienced. But if anything, we use tourism as a way to alleviate the challenges that people are going through. So, to put it succinctly, we say our purpose, we advocate for socially conscious and responsible tourism policies, strategies, and campaigns that support tourism destinations to be more resilient and contribute to overall well-being of society. How do we do this? We assess destinations and strategies for the social tourism impact, and then design social tourism solutions that drive access and inclusive participation. Through this alignment, we develop citizenry that travels within own country and the region, promoting positive stewardship over heritage asset. As a country, we have a lot of state-owned products, resorts, game reserve and nature reserves, and yet you'll be surprised how few people actually access these or even know about them. And part of the problem is that a lot of destinations do not have a way to communicate with the citizenry so that they're able to access these spaces. The results, when we have done our work well, and we have advised our clients well, what we seek to see in our society is a reduction of barriers to holidays for domestic and regional market. We would like to see increased affinity to cultural and natural heritage preservation. So we have travelers that are conscious of the impact and behave accordingly to ensure that their presence both culturally and in natural heritage spaces is positive and not negative. The results will also look at accelerating inclusive participation. And here, when you talk inclusive participation, our focus is on those economic gains that are coming from tourism, that there will be better solidarity and authentic participation, and of course, improved solidarity with host communities. In impact, we are talking sustainable and inclusive stewardship over heritage assets through travel and tourism that advances well-being. Our vision as a society is a cohesive and integrated national social tourism program advancing positive social impacts of tourism. As I indicated, as in our government, there's a lot of products that are owned, but also in the private sector, there's a lot of products that can contribute to social tourism, but these operate as individual units. And what we are striving for is more of a cohesive approach to all of it that will ultimately be led by policies that are aimed towards one big thing that sees more South Africans traveling. And so what we do to achieve this vision is that we reconnect the nation as custodians and ambassadors to its natural and the cultural and natural heritage through tourism. At the end of the day, what we're saying is that citizens not only should travel as a typical tourist, but they should be going to experience all these things as custodians. We are here as custodians to exercise good stewardship so that the next generations can also enjoy the same things. Now today, as we celebrate this day, which is Africa Day, in many countries across the continent, it's a public holiday, and hopefully one of these days, my country will catch up and it will be a public holiday. But I can tell you, by just looking at what is happening all around us, communication and messages coming through, I think it's an unofficial holiday of sorts where all our focus, our energies are focused on this day and how we contribute, we celebrate, and at the same time contribute to the Africa we want. For those of you who, Charles, you were sharing with us earlier that you were not even aware of this day. And so for those of you who might not know about this day, it's an annual commemoration of the founding of the Organization of African Unity, now called the African Union, 25 May 1963. And this coincides with the time where a lot of the West African countries had achieved liberation and independence. And from this day on forward, there were many other African countries, including us right at the tip in 1994, where we realized our independence. It's celebrated across the continent, but not only the continent, but the diaspora. As we will always have that umbilical cord to Africans in the diaspora. It aims at its heart to promote unity across the continent. And if anything, if only for one day, you can say today Africans are celebrating in unison, and that is a great start. The African Union, whose inception we are celebrating today, has its focus preserving and promoting African cultural heritage by creating awareness of Africa's vast, dynamic, and diverse cultural artifacts, and Africa's continuing influence on world cultures in art, music, language, science, and so on. I believe in the so on part of this focus. They mean social tourism, because here they have focused a lot on the cultural heritage, which is basically the first thing that everyone sees. However, in the so on, we need to also consider our natural heritage, which actually is the basis which informs our cultural heritage. Our language, our dances, our art is inspired by our nature. And so it would be great one of these days to see our African Union focus statement also accentuate the importance of natural heritage. The process of the African Union's unity in action, one can put under 3 key pillars. Agenda 2063, which talks to the Africa we want, the silencing of the guns, which was aimed at ridding this continent of all the ammunition. As I indicated, today we celebrate Africa Day. There was whole generations that went through liberation, which ended up with strife on the continent. And one of the remaining consequences of that strife was unwanted guns in our communities. And there has been this program to silence the guns so that as Africans, we can enjoy peace and unity and prosperity, sans the violence that has brought us here. And of course, now the major focus, Africa Free Trade Agreement. Africa 2063, the Africa we want, 7 aspirations. We want these 7 aspirations as follows: a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Now, one of the things I can tell you now is that across all of these 7 aspirations, each one of them has a touch point that actually talks to social tourism. When we talk in prosperous Africa under this aspiration, one of the things that are highlighted is the quality of life, improving the quality of life across this continent. And we know one of the things that social tourism delivers so effortlessly and so beautifully is improving the quality of life, especially of those on the margins who, due to affordability and other barriers, are not able to enjoy tourism and recreation. Secondly, an integrated continent, politically united based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. Here we are talking solidarity with our communities wherever they are, solidarity between the countries, solidarity amongst Africans, whether on the continent or in the diaspora. And social tourism, again, has a delicate and beautiful way of achieving that. An Africa of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. The beautiful thing about people being exposed to positive experiences through tourism is that they are able to actively and proactively participate in these aspirations that talk to good governance, democracy, and the rule of law. And this has extensive research which backs it up. A peaceful and secure Africa, I spoke to the silencing of guns, and tourism on the other side being a facilitator of peace and tolerance. And again, under the social tourism umbrella, advocating for the ability and accessibility of tourism and recreation experiences, we are able to harness this aspiration. Social tourism in its main pillars would sit and be considered under number 5, the aspiration that talks to an Africa with strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. And with this, what you see is that this aspiration, if we are as Africans, as the 54 countries on this continent, are to have a common heritage, a strong cultural identity, it starts to ask of us, how much do we interact within our cultures, within across borders, in a manner that ensures that we start to have that common heritage. I was saying to a colleague earlier that, you know, as we celebrate the Africa Day, and we have these 54 countries, it would be great if we start taking notes to say, what are the 54 touch points in us that we can say, I have been to this country and that country and that country. I still personally have a lot to go, but I have touched quite a few. And so in achieving number 5, it will require that we enable more Africans to experience this continent. Number 6, an Africa whose development is people-driven, rely on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. At the heart of social tourism is taking care of those who are on the periphery. And we know in the development of our various countries that women and youth tend to sit at the periphery. And so it's important that we use social tourism to bring them into the center, and through tourism and learning, expose them to opportunities that are going to take them to the center of economies. Last but not least, Africa is a strong, united, resilient, and influential global player and partner. I will speak to the element of resilience. We have just come out of COVID, and we all know how travel and tourism have been devastated by the pandemic. But one big lesson, as I go into the next slide, is that our resilience is dependent, highly dependent on us as Africans traveling our countries, traveling our continent. And so as we look at tourism and how social tourism contributes to the to the aspirations of Agenda 2063 and the Africa we want, we know that through social tourism, we will bring resilience into the tourism industry across this continent. And so it becomes an imperative and not a luxury. What do we know about Agenda 2063 are the 7 aspirations? And then in terms of the Africa we want, where are we as a people? What we know statistically is that we are a youthful continent of 200 million between 15 and 24. We often hear in the news that we are a young continent, indeed, which says in our focus, we really need to, for whatever we want, for the Africa we want, there needs to be a conscious investment in our young people. We have 500 million under 35 years. These are the economically active people who work their fingers off and often do not get to enjoy even an inch of the spaces they occupy. And again, here another case is made that more socially conscious policies are necessary to bring into the fold these people. Our 500 million under 35, our 200 million young people, these are the people on which we are going to build the sustainable and resilient tourism of the future. And for that to happen, the seed for their travel and interest in their countries and the continent starts now. But that seed needs investment, needs for policies to be made that will make these experiences accessible. There's a desire to preserve and promote African culture across the board. Tourism receipts, as you will see on the graphic that I have, in 2019, before COVID, we often talk about the pre-COVID days. You can see there that tourism receipts mainly came from North America at 83%, Asia Pacific at 74%, Europe at 64%. So what defined a tourist on a continent was everyone but an African. And of course, at 55%, that's where Africa features. But if you look at a similar graphic for the demographic of travelers in Europe and in America, in Asia as well, you will find it's actually the opposite. You find that a higher percentage of locals are the ones contributing to their tourism industry. And inbound, whilst it contributes, especially from facilitating trade and some of the leisure They are not dependent on people coming outside of their countries, but rather people who are within the countries and within the region. And that is what we aspire to. But to get there again, take into consideration that we do have limitations at the moment, unemployment, per capita GDP. How do we address that for the future? Through social tourism policies, of course. The Africa Free Trade Agreement, another pillar that is one of the ways we are driving unity across the continent. This is a trade pact that will become the largest in the world free trade area, connecting almost over 1 billion people across 54 African countries. If you look at the strategies around the Africa Free Trade Agreement, majority of them mostly is around movement of goods in the continent. When goods move, people move too. And so it's important that we look at this agreement beyond trade, and in the same way that we are focusing at reducing or even removing trade barriers and focusing on tariffs, the likes of the tariffs that are between the borders. In the same way, we need to look at what do we do to enable a more seamless movement of people on this continent, not just goods. On the slide that you're looking at, a post-pandemic Africa we want, the graphic on that you see there is Safari Back to Self. These are the travel chronicles of a young lady from this part of the continent, Beulah Hlubi. This young lady decided to take a backpack and travel and get to meet Africa and get to know this beautiful country that she resides at the tip of. And as you can see, she's literally carrying everything on her back. And her experiences captured in this book are amazing. You know, not having a map that tells you, okay, these are the youth hostels, this is where you're gonna go. The African spirit of welcoming was what carried her through the 54 countries. She would arrive in a place, not have any accommodation, but by the end of the day, there would be somebody that takes her home with. And it is that quintessential African hospitality that we all should actually have on our bucket list. If there's a Mecca that talks to African culture that we should all endeavor to experience, is that travel across this continent as Africans. And her chronicles highlight quite a number of things. And so when we're looking at this post-pandemic Africa we want, what we know is that we want an attractive, compelling, affordable leisure travel and tourism within the continent to promote the AU goal of social cohesion on this continent. We want to see investment in social tourism infrastructure, for example, budget family resorts. So we know when it comes to inbound packages and tour experiences, you have out of Europe, you have the TUI resorts where you've got, they've got their craft, they've got the wheels, the seats, the beds, and they even have resorts on the eastern parts, your Kenya shores they have. So you basically can purchase a TUI package and they will fly you, they will accommodate you, they'll entertain you. You have all of that. We are at a point as we design this Africa we want to have a TUI equivalent for this continent. Just on its own, you start to realize, as much as we're talking social tourism, we already have infrastructure. It's a question of how do we package, manage, and use them as instruments for economic empowerment in the various countries. But because we create this unity and integrated approach, we will then be able to make it even easier for more Africans to travel across the continent, especially our young Africans. Not to take away from the experience of Beulah, that experience that she had should never be taken away. There should also be that alternative. But for those who have less time and would still want to do the experience, there should be a space infrastructure that supports that on a budget. And authentic solidarity with host communities, similar to what you find in rural Italy, Greece, etc. You find that rural communities, when they are part of a tourism experience, they are not looked at, at a distance, at an arm's length, but they are their storytellers, their own storytellers. Their stories are not told through interpretation, or translation. They create their own experiences. And so when you go in my country, if I were to go to a rural Limpopo, as a local, I'm able to do that. And by being able to do that, it awakens a joy and a unity in people that cannot be matched. And so when we as Africans travel in our own countries and across the continent, the level of validity that we give each other cannot be compared. And that's where authentic solidarity will come from. And that is where we start to realize this Africa that we want. When we're talking accessibility and affordability, we need relaxed visa regime, accessible and seamless travel across the continent. As the tariff barriers are being brought down, we need the visa regime to enable people to travel seamlessly. We need budget intra-Africa tour packages. We need safety and hygiene. We know post-COVID, the issues of hygiene are top of the list as far as travel insurance is concerned. And it's important as we create this Africa that we want, that there are certain basics of compliance that we also invest in to ensure that we also are able to contribute to that prosperity. And lastly, through accessibility and affordability, we promote that desired unity and the shared heritage. Social tourism infrastructure, in a nutshell, what I was referring to, in the public tourism assets that we already have, we need to see more youth hostels that are well managed and accommodate the needs of our young people today. Things like Wi-Fi. We need to see camping being promoted more. In our country, there is a culture of camping, but it's very limited. We still need to expose more young people to camping experiences so that they can grow to become adults that participate actively in camping and responsible camping at it. And here it's a question of also affordability. There's the infrastructure part, but there's also affordability. Promotion of homestays, supporting more people, especially in rural areas, to host guests. It is great when, in the spirit of being African, we are able to provide accommodation, at a drop of a hat. It's even better that it becomes by design, that we know that, whichever area you walk into, you'll be able to identify those registered and accredited homestays. And of course, improving our public parks and resorts with the community surrounding them being part and parcel of the park and resorts experiences. Host community solidarity. Lastly, when locals travel, seasonality declines and geographic spread is improved. Most of the time we do, whether I'm in South Africa or I read tourism plans out of Zimbabwe, or I'm looking at Burundi, the key issues that are always highlighted is geographic spread and seasonality. And these challenges are mainly because our tourism strategies are based on the markets that are indicated are the ones who contribute the most. But if we flip the script and include the travel by Africans, that seasonality declines, the geographic spread is improved. And it's in those gaps that we also find the budget experiences. We want more authentic experiences that contribute to cultural and natural heritage preservation. And here, when it comes to the host community solidarity aspect, appreciating that our host communities are in the main the custodians of this heritage. And so their participation as the custodians to assist us also to become co-custodians and better stewards is critical. Ultimately, host community solidarity fosters social cohesion. We stop excluding host communities and treating their participation as CSI. Host communities, especially in the rural areas, should not be treated as charity recipients. They are equal custodians of that environment, and their role should be respected and appreciated. And when we show that in solidarity, we foster as Africans the social cohesion that we desire. In conclusion, my esteemed guests, we are a young continent, blessed with abundance of heritage. As we sit, peace is our inheritance. If you go through the journey of how we've arrived here, it was not an easy journey. We've been called the Dark Continent. We have been called or presented in negative ways, but it was a couple of years before, a year or two before COVID, where I think it was the time, and where the one time in the 90s, you know, it was Africa, the Dark Continent, and then the new cover was Africa Rising. And we keep rising. Our limits are unknown. We keep rising, and peace being our inheritance, we build on it. And social tourism is an amazing way on which we can build on this and promote that cohesion we so desire. Travel and tourism ultimately unites us and help us to create that united and strong and resilient continent. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and essentially what I was attempting to do in celebrating Africa Day, and how social tourism brings us all together, because it makes tourism more accessible, it makes it affordable, but it makes sure that everyone in the value chain that creates tourism experiences is not left behind, and that we have a role to play in the Africa Free Trade Agreement. We have a role to play in leveraging the peace that is our inheritance today. We have a role to play towards that Africa we want. When 2063 arrives, we will be very old, and some of us will be a distant memory. But when it does arrive, which will be the celebration of a century of African unity, I believe on that day, the discussion will not be we need to be united. There will be a united Africa, and it will be a celebration of how far we've come and how far we will still be going. With that, ladies and gentlemen, in my mother tongue, as a South African Motswana, I say ke a leboga. Thank you, merci.
Congratulations, Beulah. Thanks a lot for this very powerful presentation. Joël, I think we can continue with our next speaker.
Okay. Congratulations, Beulah, for your presentation. Thanks for all. I see you have a big passion for social and solidarity tourism development. Congratulations again. Okay, we can pass for second presenter, who is my sister, Livine. Hello, Livine.
Hello, Joël. Thanks for giving me the
Livine, I think there is a bad connection for the moment.
Yeah, it's bad connection.
Livine, we don't hear you. We don't hear you.
Please go. No. No. I think there is the connection. There is a problem with the connection. If you need a couple of minutes to arrange it, Livine, can you speak again?
Yes,
No. No. Livine, we will ask you to check with Gamaliel how to arrange the connection, because and what I propose meanwhile is to share with you a short video that was proposed by Beulah. Meanwhile, Livine is trying to arrange the connection for the second presentation. So I propose we share the video, Beulah, or...
Okay, let me see.
Okay.
I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the glades, the rivers, the deserts, the trees, the flowers, the seas, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land. My body has frozen in our frosts and in our latter-day snows. It has thawed in the warmth of our sunshine and melted in the heat of the midday sun. The crack and the rumble of the summer thunders, lashed by startling lightning, have been a cause both of trembling and of hope. The fragrances of nature have been as pleasant to us as the sight of the wild blooms of the citizens of the veldt. The dramatic shapes of the dragon's back, the soil-colored waters of the Likwa, Iqeli, Notuga, and the sands of the Kalahari have all been panels of the set on the natural stage on which we act out the foolish deeds of the theater of the day. At times, and in fear, I have wondered whether I should concede equal citizenship of our country to the leopard and the lion, the elephant and the springbok, the hyena, the black mamba, and the pestilential mosquito. A human presence among all of these, a feature on the face of our native land just defined, I know that none dare challenge me when I say I am an African. I am the grandchild of the warrior men and women that incense the Kukuni land. Patriots at Tetrayon and people took to battle. The soldiers who Shweshwe and Gumunyane taught never to dishonor the cause of freedom. I am the child of Nonghaus. I am he who made it possible to trade in the world markets in diamonds and gold and the same food for which our stomachs yearn. Being part of all of these people, and in the knowledge that none dares contest that assertion, I shall claim that I'm an African. Today, it feels good to be an African.
Okay, thank you, Beulah, for sharing this. Do you want just to say a few words about that video?
I can add that indeed today it feels good.
I am an African.
Fantastic to be African. It was a speech on occasion of Africa Day by our president, then President Thabo Mbeki. This was in 1996. It's a much longer poem And in the other parts of the poem, he also touches on the inheritance of the rest of the continent. So you would have picked up that with this clip, it was mainly focused on South Africa, but the extended version actually touches on, you know, the Berber in the Sahara and various communities, the Ashanti, you know, all the kingdoms, the old kingdoms of Africa. And so it's a beautiful poem celebrating our inheritance and the day that is Africa and how great it is to be African and leverage that inheritance every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Beulah. So, Joël, if you agree, we will come back to Livine, hoping that the connection is arranged. Livine?
Yes.
Livine,
Yes, Charles.
are you ready? Are you ready now?
Yes, I'm ready. I hope the connection will permit that I present to you what I prepare.
Sure.
Okay.
Good. Okay, good.
So can you share the presentation or do you need some help?
I'm working on it. I'm looking for my presentation.
So meanwhile, welcome to everyone who joined us since we start. We're very happy to have so many participants for CafecISTO Africa. Okay. This is very positive.
Okay. Charles, please.
Yes, Livine?
Unfortunately, it's not easy for me to achieve that presentation. Okay. I think I will just go like this without a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, or maybe someone in ISTO Secretariat can help you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. Okay.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Please go.
Okay, thank you. One more time, happy African Day for everyone. I shall introduce me. My name is Livine Demanou. I'm a member of Batoufam Tourisme and Leisure, and I'm also the person in charge of the Pole Cultural Mediation, the Royal Museum of Batoufam. Today, we celebrate the Africa Unity Day on the theme Social Tourism Uniting Africa. My work will be axis on one point, which is better solidarity with host communities. That point has been experimented by Batoufam Tourisme and Loisirs since many years, and my work will be axis on it. Next, please. Thank you. The headlines of my presentation are there. We first introduce and present what is social tourism and its missions. They talk about the context of African security. And then the last one, the social tourism and peace in Africa, better solidarity for host communities. Next, please. For about the first, the introduction, the presentation of social tourism and its mission, we noticed that on an international scale, the International Office of Social Tourism has been founded in 1963, and which has since become the International of Social Tourism Organization, present social tourism as being the relationship and the phenomena resulting from participation in tourism, and in particular from the participation of the low-income social strata. This participation is made possible or facilitated by measure of a clearly defined social measure. So let's talk about the mission of the social tourism. It aims to allow as many people as possible to access the practice of tourism, because we notice that also, about the point of view, is not everybody that knows that they can access to that practice that is tourism. They cannot entertain themselves alone, thinking that the practice of tourism is for those persons who have a lot of incomes, talking about money, financial incomes that can help them to participate to tourism. Or when we talk about social tourism, is that particular tourism that permits to those who did not compulsory have incomes that can participate to tourism. A second point is allow employees in the sector to carry out their activity in a fulfilling way and to involve in their career. And the last point, allow us territories to economic and social development. And at the end, we
cannot hear you anymore, Livine.
We notice that in the category of people who can benefit from this tourism, this form of tourism, we can say among others large communities and students. We have also
I think we lost the, no. Livine, your micro is off. Please open the micro.
It's okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue, please. Next, please, Sabrina. Thank you. Now, let's talk about the African security context, talking first about the political war.
There is a connection problem.
Part of the country is in trouble.
Sorry, Livine.
Which clearly is put into practice. Yes.
Sorry, Livine, there is a connection problem. Maybe you should cut your camera and just continue with your micro.
Okay. Is okay now?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, as I was talking, starting from this definition of the social tourism that I told you before, which clearly established the context in which social tourism is put into practice, it is wise to take an interest on the current security in context in Africa, which is a view to see whether the conditions are favorable for the development of that category kind of tourism. To this, we can note that in the continent has suffered in the past because of the tremors due to war and the terrorism. This suffering did not change today. It increased nowadays. Other phenomena has emerged or even existing of one have developed further, which has created feeling of fear in the heart of tourists and which still persists today. This includes also different observe in religious opinion. Next slide, please. Okay, in this picture, we are seeing people branding their arms in time of war. It's a religious ideological war created by them, the jihadists, called the Boko Haram in extreme North Cameroon. Notice that this part of Cameroon is too much intense in time of war, so that people could not visit this part of the country because it's not accessible. Let us talk, take the case also of those people who did not well govern our country, because we cannot end this part without mentioning bad governance as one of the phenomena that slows down the progress of tourism in Africa, because it promotes unequal distribution of tasks, and at the same time, it increases unemployment. It is therefore by overcoming all these phenomena that we can guarantee better social tourism between people. Now, please, the next slide, we will talk about the better solidarity with host communities. For solidarity to be truly effective between host communities and tourists, certain evil that undermine our society must be eradicated, in particular tribalism and xenophobia, to name a few. From another point of view, action to be implemented to promote this solidarity can be taken into account the young clientele as a priority, assist by further developing educational trips at flat rates to allow them access to tourism. So in this picture, you are seeing some students time with and they learn more about the culture of Batoufam, their daily life. Exactly. Next slide, please. We also have the bringing together of people of different categories, religion, ages, and communities, with a view to creating share, promoting the acceptance of each other without distinction. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the better solidarity with the Batoufam communities. Those pictures present some Cameroonian students that also come here, because we are not just promoting external underchange with students outside. We change also with our proper students in Batoufam. They come in Batoufam, they visit the museum, and they also visit touristic sites. Park, and the other pictures shows us a waterfall that they visit, and plus the museum, they visit it, but it's for free. They do not pay any charge, any money to visit those sites, because we promote the solidarity between the communities and the students, and we are going to try to enlarge the knowing of tourism. Then, to illustrate internationally, we have Batoufam Tourisme et Loisirs, which is an association that promotes social tourism on a large scale. It has been experimenting with this notion for several times ago, and we have a school called the SIT, the School for International Training, which is an American school, come here twice year per year, 2 times per year, since 2 weeks, and they spend a day in some communities. The next slide, please. That will show these children, those two students who come here and participate at the This internship takes places. Okay, the next slide, please, Sabrina.
There are no more slides. I'm sorry. This is the last one.
Okay, thank you. So during this internship, they are placed with host families, and during their stay, they discover the art, the way of life, the tradition, and the culture of this rural community. They are also immersed in the daily activities of these Bamileke families, ranging from field work, household work, discussion at local meal times, to other activities that will enliven their stay. The objective is to appreciate rural families who maintain strong ties with their habits and customs despite the pressure of globalization. In the end, special bonds can be born between the student and their host family. In the case of ties that persist despite time and distance. We have, for example, of a student who chose to celebrate her customary marriage, the traditional marriage called the dowry, with the one who was the head of the family where she spent her internship here in Batoufam. And now she considered that man as her father, and she decided to come and celebrate her traditional marriage here. Also, we have the second positive return of this cooperation is the allocation of a symbolic amount to the host family, which make it possible to bear certain additional charge in the house and to develop a small income generating activity. We know that in a rural village, we know that it's a rural way of living. So if they have a little amount of money, they can just try to develop something that will help them in their lives. On the continental level now, the hospitality offered by the local Batoufam community to African foreigners promote intercultural mixing and exchanges. For example, in 1917, we hosted in our tourism association one of the most important meetings of African leaders. The topic on the table were related to the continent's security challenges. During the visit of the various touristic attractions, our host noticed that there is a very large cultural similarity between the people of Africa. A strong argument for the fight against internal tribalism. It is clear that in this case, the ability of host families contribute to expansion of social tourism and the fight against prejudices, which constitute one of the major sources of conflict in Africa. Internally, there are intercultural division in Cameroon linked to linguistic and geographical affiliation. So, however, there is a presence of local tourists from various backgrounds who stay in the Batoufam kingdom. We found among them the Bassa, which is a people coming from the littoral region of Cameroon, the Bulu coming from the central region of Cameroon, and some of the eastern region of Cameroon. And they won well by the local who are the Bamileke here generally, allow them to deconstruct their prejudice and to have another vision of these people. Some of them generally admit to being surprised by the reception of local residents who have been presented as disreputable people in most cases. It is therefore clearly established that the provision of hosts in social tourism makes it possible to break down racial and linguistic prejudices and therefore promote living together and peace. So to promote living together in peace between people, we need to put them together, to communicate a lot, to put them together and to share about the cultures, share about the way of living of some of them, so that we can learn and try to understand that we are just one, we are African, we are one, and we are supposed to live together for a better Africa. So thank you for giving me the floor. I hope you appreciate my presentation in spite of those disagreements, and I'm aware from your questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Livine, for
Okay.
presenting the successful case story of Batoufam. So, Joël, I let you continue with the exchange questions. We have 10 minutes to take some questions or comments. Joël? Your micro, Joël?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you open your micro?
Okay, Charles. Living question for your presentation. You know, yeah, I open my micro. Do you agree? Hello?
Yeah, it's okay. So we can take some
Do you hear me,
questions
Charles?
or comments.
Okay, I say, congratulations, Living, for your beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
You know, African continent, okay, you know, African continent is have a potential for health and social tourism and solidarity. But today we are in face with several problems of tourism and certain issues, which down is health, health and who is slow down the activity for social and solidarity tourism. Now we can open a question for everybody who have a question for our two presenters.
We have Maurizio who has a question. Raise his hand.
Mauricio?
Yes, I have a
Mauricio,
question.
have you a question?
Yes.
Okay, Mauricio.
Yes, okay. I have a question for Ms. Livine. We, as the Italian Association for Responsible Tourism, are going to organize a meeting on Cameroon, about Cameroon, together with a representative of the diaspora in Italy. And this gentleman from the diaspora is active in import-export activity between Italy and Cameroon, but he's not a specialist of tourism. So I would like to invite you, if you are available, to participate in this meeting when we organize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. It will be a privilege for me to participate to that meeting, and I hope it will be very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next questions or comments, please. No one else? Meanwhile, if there is no more comments or questions, before, yes, there is one end here. Please, Mrs. Toba, please.
Hi, bonjour. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say thanks to Beulah for the representation she shared with on this platform, and we would like to pursue much more information through Beulah. And I'm calling you from South Africa, by the way, Ladies in Tourism, Lit SA. And we would really love to have and establish more collaborations in the future through Madame Mosupye. Thank you very much for the platform you've created.
Okay, Beulah.
Thank you, Mrs. Toba. Thank you.
Charles, before you carry, thank you, Toba. Very kind words. The ladies in tourism are very active here in South Africa, and I think Livine, we need to open a branch in Cameroon. You know, it's ladies in tourism, and it must be all over this continent. They're a very vibrant group of women who advocate for inclusive participation, and we have a collaborative partnership with them as Hauweng. And I think one of the great things to come out of this, and this is the beauty of celebrations, that when we have platforms like this and we are focused on one common agenda, it exposes our potential, it exposes our abilities. And already, Livine, congratulations to the offer that you just received. I'm so excited, and please, when it happens, do share the link. Hopefully that I will be able to follow. I suspect it might be in French, but nonetheless, it will be lovely to see that the meeting and your contribution in that meeting. And to also add to what Livine presented, you know, one of the things, being a youthful continent, I would say that it's important that we honestly, intentionally invest in our young people using social tourism instruments. You look at what Livine is achieving with the exchanges. You know, I already see, Livine, after this, we need to have a discussion on how we can do an exchange, send some South African youth to Cameroon to come and learn French and be exposed to the cultures there. And we can also decide, host some Cameroonians, you know, add some English lessons. They will not be as much as we would need the French lessons, but they can also come and be exposed to our cultures this side. And I can even say, Toba, the ladies in tourism, a lot of them own guest houses and homestays, and I'm certain that we would be able to come about with an amazing collaboration of young Africans visiting each other's and experiencing each other's countries. So out of this, I can already see that we already have, Charles, a program and a CafecISTO inspired exchange program between South Africa and Cameroon. And as we go, we will mobilize the rest of the continent to also participate.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question.
We do have one question from Asler, I think.
Yes.
I think you, yeah, there you go.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Yes, hello, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Bikume Albani. Thank you for all to have this meeting about social tourism in Africa. But when I started to join the reunion, I say I also let I miss some word or some definition about social tourism in Africa. So about this, I want to know how we can define this.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Your question was to know how can we define social tourism, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will be pleased to if you want to send us a short message after the webinar to send you information. Yeah. But basically, social tourism refers to how any type of organization, whether it's a public, private, social organization, can provide better access to travel, leisure, and holidays. So it's all type of policies, initiatives, actions, programs that are allowing more people to go on holiday. We know that paid holidays have been there for years, but still, even in Europe, large part of the population cannot go on holiday, and most of them because of some financial obstacles. So this is why we talk about tourism for all. But financial obstacles are not the only one. It has been mentioned by Beulah. You also have cultural obstacles, physical obstacles for us when we think about people with disabilities, sometimes psychological. So we have some documents and other reference. We can send it to you after the webinar. Okay, so if you can just send us a short mail, we will be happy to provide you this information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before I make just the conclusion of this, I would like to ask you to after my short announcement, to open your camera so we can take one or two screenshots that we can use after that. So first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers and also Joël and Gamaliel, who have worked to prepare this CafecISTO webinar. Since we have started these CafecISTO, we have international CafecISTO, but also for each region, Europe, Africa, America. This is the largest one in terms of participation, and certainly also in terms of quality, one of the best. But in terms of participation, okay, we still have to make some progress, but we are here at ISTO Secretariat very happy about that result. There are three announcements I would like to make. The first one, for ISTO members, you should have received on Monday the opening of the ISTO Awards. So ISTO Awards are prizes to recognize good practices, initiatives for different categories of members of ISTO. So it's open until July 18, and awards will be given during our next World Congress. So that's the first edition of these ISTO Awards. All the information is available on our ISTO website. The second announcement is to say that we organize from June 20 to June 26 the third edition of our International Week Fair and Tourism Sustainable for All. We will have our General Assembly with presentation of the activity report on June 20 in the afternoon, 3:30 Brussels time. You will receive the link and also documents for that. So you are very welcome to join us for this General Assembly. It will be online with simultaneous translation, French, English, and Spanish. But beside that, we have two other type of events for this International Week. One will be a webinar and 3 workshops, one in French, one in English, and one in Spanish. I'm talking about the workshop to prepare the content of the next World Congress. So we will give you the schedule, but the idea will be to have, based on a note that will be shared before that with some question, to have some exchange in order to better prepare the sessions and the World Congress of ISTO. And the other type of activities to be proposed to you is what we call ISTO Connect. So we will have, once again, 3 sessions of ISTO Connect, French, English, and Spanish. And in each session, you will be invited. If you want, you will need to be registered for that, to make a 5 minutes presentation of your organization and what you are looking for. These the ISTO Connect sessions are new initiatives, and the purpose of that is really to facilitate the networking between members. Whether you are looking for a partner, you are looking for a new client, you want to promote a new product, a new destination, any kind of things. So ISTO Connect will be the place to promote and say what you are looking for within ISTO network. And last, it's about our next World Congress. You should have received a save the date. It will take place in Azores Island from October 12 to October 15. So it's organized in partnership with the Inatel Foundation, the government of Portugal, and of course the regional government of Azores. It will take place in the capital, Punta Delgada, and we will send you in the coming days the first practical information regarding the general activities and information on registration, accommodation. So you can already start to prepare your trip for this. And we really hope that there will be a strong delegation from Africa to this Congress. So this is what I wanted to make. Once again, I want to thank all the participants. I want also to thank my colleagues at this ISTO Secretariat, Sabrina and Leah, who have helped us to prepare and to follow this CafecISTO. And I would like to ask you just to open your camera for a final photo, a screenshot that we will be able to share on social media. So if you want to open your camera, please. Si vous voulez bien ouvrir vos caméras, pour ceux qui sont toujours présents, voilà, juste pendant quelques secondes. I'm asking the other colleagues if they can open their camera. Sabrina. And others, please. Okay. There are a couple of other who I see: Ruth, Janice, Gwen, Muriel, okay, Rachel, Paul, and Mary. Can you open your camera?
Hello, Charles Zalgasimo from Guinea-Bissau.
Okay, bonjour. Restez avec votre caméra. Paul et Ruth, Gwen, Janice.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Pouvez-vous ouvrir? Can you open your camera? Paul and Gwen. We just need a couple more. Otherwise, we will go like this. Gwen, Janice, Mary. Only Gwen is missing and Mary. Okay, I think that we can go like this for a screenshot.
All right, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. One more. Okay, all good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay. So once again, happy Africa Day. Thanks a lot. And it's just the beginning of the construction, I would say, of a real ISTO Africa section. Thanks a lot. We keep in touch and see you soon. Bye-bye.